For me, knowing the person and knowing what they've done, their portfolio is very important. Vetting the deal itself it's important. Also having a collateral. So for example, having a collateral like a house. Right now, I see in the markets that a lot of people are not comfortable with private lending as much. So you've got to be a lot more, if I was streets before, I am streetser now in terms of private lending money to people. In terms of partnering, now in the different networks that we have, going out and leveraging on those networks, and that this person has done this, that, and that. And sometimes, they're different. I usually try to go through a mortgage broker, right? I have a mortgage broker that does all the vetting for me. I have lawyers that are doing also that are working as part of the team. So all of this give you clarity and you're not emotionally again attached to something. And that helps you to conduct your due diligence.
Tell me, have you ever wanted to invest in real estate but never really had the time? You could still do that with passive investing strategies. Our guest this week, Deborah Ojo, shares her experience transitioning from school teacher to real estate investor, and we discuss private lending as a passive investing strategy. This and more coming up in the episode.
You're listening to the Black Wealth Effect podcast, where we're all about inspiring the next generation of Black Canadian real estate investors to succeed financially. If you're tuned in, that means you're hungry to take action and build wealth outside of your 9-to-5. We'll be sitting down with Black real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and allies to discuss a diverse set of topics to help you along your investing journey. Let's get started. You're listening to another episode of the Black Wealth Effect podcast. I'm your host, Mario, and our guest today is Deborah Ojo. Deborah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mario. It's an honor being here.
And it's an honor having you. I know you're a well-acclaimed realtor and successful real estate investor as well. Extremely excited to kind of learn about your story and talk about your experiences. And like at the time of recording this episode, we're about a month away from 2023, so the new year. So would love your insights and just your thoughts on the year to come as well.
Okay.
To start off, we'd like to get to know you a little bit. And so we did a bit of digging, and we know words of advice that you live by are to think deployment instead of employment. And so I'm curious, what does that mean to you? Can you share?
When you're saying that, sometimes I like to tell the audience that this is the path that has worked for me. And I believe everybody should have something that they can fall on just in case something happens, right? So the goal should be your side also hopefully turn into a business, because of course, a lot of people, some of my clients has unfortunately been laid off. And if you don't have a side plan and you just, giving everything to putting all your calendars on all your eggs in one basket, the employer can just decide to do whatever. So for me, it all started honestly when my dad used to work in a bank in Nigeria. And he was fired, or he was let go after, I think it wasn't fired, it was let go after 20 years of employment. So of course, that was very hard. That was very sudden. One day he was there and the next day they just said, well, we don't need you anymore. So he has since told me that, Deborah, make sure that you don't put all your serving, all your energy, your youth energy into just an employer, right? Especially when you're working in one sector. So for me, that has always been with me, stuck with me. And I always wanted to, have other ways of making income. I didn't want one person to decide for me when it's time to let me go just because it doesn't make any sense anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those are wise words to live by, right? It's important to have those multiple income streams because to your point, things happen, life happens, the market shifts. especially
Yes.
like it has this year. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Look at this year, right? Look at what is going on. And you have, even if you're working, for people that doesn't have the luxury to go into business full time, if you had, for me, I sell real estate, right? That's what I do. But if you have that as a sideline in the, just for a fallback plan, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses, you don't have to be as greedy as me. But if you have few houses, I do think that those could also be a fallback plan. So if you're making a good income and you truly enjoy your work, but you also have all these other things, those can also be considered as, a side business.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's great advice. I know you started your career as a teacher. Can you talk a little bit about your experience transitioning from the classroom to starting Deborah Homes? And also, if you could share your first few deals on the real estate side for our listeners, that would be great.
Okay. So I am a mom, I'm a wife. And it's awkward for some people to think about it, but as a teacher, I would say I wasn't very fulfilled. It wasn't something that, the pay was good, but it was something that tired me out. And I just needed other ways to express myself. I've been very entrepreneurial in nature. I like to consider myself as managerial leader. Those are the qualities that I have. So I didn't feel like being a teacher was fulfilling those goals. However, now I can teach real estate, right? So those goals are transferable now. But after a while, we bought our first property. That's how we started. Me and my husband, we bought our first property. We made such a good amount of money from it within 18 months. I should calculate the returns on investment, but it was about $300,000 on a $35,000 investment that we made within 18 months. And that's just leads, it just creates, when you have a light bulb moment. And I just thought, okay, this is the thing, right? The income that I'm making as a teacher, the income that my husband is making is not enough to what we made within 18 months. And I was just obsessed. Every time my husband come back from work, I'll be like, do you see what's sold down the streets? This is what's sold. This is how this is how much this person paid for it. Can you imagine? And it was almost like you're stealing. To me, it just feels like, this can't be real. So my husband said, if you like it so much, why don't you go into it, right? You've always complained that you don't like your work so well. Maybe you should go into it. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that, right? So that's how we started. And that first house snowballed into, we sold this. We used it to buy 2 more houses at that time. Then we partner with other people as well. We started buying properties. So at first we bought our second residential property plus a rental property. And that's how we just kept going, right? And because of our knowledge, we're also able to, we joined, many investor groups, different investor groups. So with that, we're able to network with other people as well. And it just became a passion for me to be able to teach other people, to be able to expose other people to, hey guys, this is what you can do for yourself. This is the only profession that I know, or only side hustle that pays so much returns after short-term investments, right? So that's how I started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And I loved how you touched on it, right? Like you applied that skill set from teaching to a passion, which you had around real estate, right? And building that generational wealth and ultimately benefiting through that strategy, right?
That's right. That's right. No skill is lost, right? I always believe that. And sometimes I always like to say sometimes things don't connect, because I studied human resources in my bachelor's. That's what I studied. And then my mom is a teacher, so I became a teacher, right? It's all a part of trying to know yourself. So sometimes as a child, we try to pressure people and say, oh, by 15, you should know what you're supposed to do. Well, I didn't know what I was supposed to do until much later. And to me, that's entirely fine, because all these other skills now connected for me, all the exposure, confidence to be able to talk on a big stage, all of those connected for me to be able to be here, right? So, I made money from those other little careers on the side, but now the return on investment on those career paths has led me to where I am here today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. That's great. And so, like we touched on it earlier in the show, but obviously, like this year has been a huge year of change within the real estate market. I'm curious, like if you were to kind of think back to the beginning of the year and kind of where we are now, and even like thinking ahead to the new year, like what trends have you seen in terms of home prices, just like within the GTA? And like, what are some of your early predictions for 2023 based on what you're seeing?
This market did make a lie of me for sure. I would say that. And it's all because, we make these predictions, we're just opening these things, but nobody really has the crystal ball. I like to tell my clients that, hey, don't come to Deborah Homes if you don't want honesty. I would tell you that stick to the fundamentals because we really don't know what's going to happen, right? So if you apply all the fundamentals right, you're in the right market, then regardless of what happens, you will be fine. But for me, definitely this year, I was thinking that the market is going to correct itself at some point, but I didn't expect it to be so quick, right? I didn't expect the Bank of Canada to increase interest rates at a very aggressive way, within a short period of time. So I didn't think they could do that, but definitely that's a lesson learned. Anything could happen. But again, my clients that stick to the fundamentals of real estate, they're still doing well, right? So from the beginning of the year, houses were selling I would sell a house within 4 days on the market, over asking all the time. But now things have slowed down. Sellers are having a hard time to adjust because sometimes they're not realistic with the price and the expectation. They're going to have to, most of them are comparing to the February prices, right? So now having an agent that understand the market, that understand the trends, and if you're able to educate them a little bit, they might come to terms to why they need to sell this property, if they are serious about selling this property, and what price can they get, how long will it take for them to sell a house onto these markets, right? So those are all the things that, we are educating our clients. But going forward next year, to be honest, it's still a wild card. Nobody really knows because there's a lot of variables, right, to what the market is going to do. So, for example, if the next announcement for interest rates is December 7. So we're thinking that they're going to increase the intent that they might still have to increase interest rates at that point. Anytime interest rates increases, it reduces people's affordability because if they were qualified for $1 million, now maybe they qualify for only 900 to 950, depending on what the interest rate is. So with that, it takes time also for the behavior, the patterns in the markets to change once interest rate changes, but eventually it's going to filter through the market and price drops slightly, right? But again, sticking to the fundamentals, places like Brampton, Milton, Mississauga, all of these places are still strong markets. So they are not, the price is not crashing like other markets, right? I'll give you an example. This year, me and my husband, we were flipping like crazy this year. So again, different strategies applies to different markets, right? Even though you can't time the markets, but the advantage that we have is because we are working in this market. So I tell people, I leave the markets at this time, I break the markets at this time. I am sleeping about it. I'm constantly analyzing numbers. So that strategic position helps me to be able to make decisions looking in rather than reacting to the news, right? So this year we flipped a property in Chatham, Ontario. I don't know if any people know Chatham. You may know Chatham. We bought the property, I think, for about $380, around there is what we bought it for. We renovated it maybe about $40,000. We sold that property, I think I was checking the numbers, for maybe about $650, $655. Okay. This was within 4 months. But we wanted to sell that property. So now my husband, the way our dynamic, our business planning works, I am selling real estate full time. He's joined me now, but in most cases, I tell him and say, hey, we have a discussion, right? And he's the project manager. He's the one that is going to this property and seeing them. I am home, dealing with my team, doing the business and all of that. So he's on site. So he's like, this property is so beautiful. It's so nice. Let's not sell it. Let's just refinance it and take my money out. And I'm like, babe, listen. At the end of the day, we are attached to money. We are not attached to a property. we need to sell this property right now. As of this time, I think it was around maybe March, April. And if you look back, that was the time they were saying we're going to start changing interest rates. So in retrospect right now, thank God we sold this, because that same property, I think is only worth maybe about $500,000 right now, right? So again, depending on your strategy, what you're trying to accomplish, flipping for us is to raise enough capital and we turn that to now a business within our real estate portfolio. So we have this active passion. We're just flipping, 5 to 10 properties a year. And that was a side of that business. So it wasn't something that was meant that originally wanted to keep. But of course, we have fallback plans. So I'm saying again, you can't time the market, but you can rely on the fundamentals to be able to make decisions. So going forward next year, some of the strategies like flipping is harder to do. It's still possible. It's just you need to make sure you know the numbers and know your audience really well. You're not emotional. You're relying on your numbers. You're dotting your I's and crossing your T's to be able to do something like that, right? So I think next year, the market has not definitely settled to, a stable table, if you want to say, oh, it's stable. We don't have stability in the markets yet. So I think there's still going to be ups and downs in the markets depending on interest rates. But there's still a lot of upsides. There's immigration, right? So a lot of people are coming, 1.5 million, I think the number is, that are coming right now. Rent is becoming a problem. People need a place to stay. Students are coming. So there's still a lot of upsides that could affect pricing in the markets. We just don't know yet. But again, if you stick to your fundamentals, if you partner with people that understand the market, if you listen to a podcast like this, you're going to be fine, because now you are gaining from a lot of people's experiences, right? This person has done this. And then from there, you can kind of pick and choose which strategy you want to stick with. And at the end of the day, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
I know that was a long answer. Sorry.
No, it was good. It was great. Great nuggets there. I love it. I love the point just around staying on top of the trends, sticking to your fundamentals, and then most importantly, leveraging your network.
Yes.
Right? To be successful. That's awesome. And so you talked about flipping. I know for you, you leverage various investment strategies, as part for your portfolio. And I know amongst the many strategies, do focus on private lending. For our listeners who aren't familiar what private lending is, can you talk a little bit about what that is? And then also just share, from your perspective, what is your criteria at a high level or generally from a private lending perspective that you kind of focus on when investing in and partnering with other investors?
Okay. So private lending is, I will just paraphrase this. It's when you private lend money to someone, maybe usually an investor in terms of real estate. So you're giving an investor, hopefully a savvy investor, your money, and they are paying you some returns on investments based on different things. And now for me personally, the risk to that is you want to make sure that you know that this person, or you verify, do your due diligence on the deals that this person is working on, the kind of person they are, that is very, very important to me. Different people have different criteria and vetting the numbers and all of that. But for me, knowing the person and knowing what they've done, their portfolio is very important. Vetting the deal itself it's important. Also having a collateral. So for example, having a collateral like a house is of very, very important. And right now, I see in the markets that a lot of people are not comfortable with private lending as much. So you've got to be a lot more, if I was streets before, I am streeter now in terms of private lending money to people. In terms of partnering, now in the different networks that we have, going out and leveraging on those networks, and that this person has done this, that, and that. And sometimes, there are different. I usually try to go through a mortgage broker, right? I have a mortgage broker that does all the vetting for me. I have lawyers that are doing also that are working as part of the team. So all of this is helping you to give you clarity, and you're not emotionally again attached to something. And that helps you to conduct your due diligence. So that's what I look for when I'm doing private lending. And also it depends on what you're looking for again as a part of your strategy and your overall portfolio, right? So if you wanted to do more long-term, if you wanted to do short-term, I just did one right now, which is a long time, it's almost like 10 years. Yeah, that is not private lending. That is, I did it with Grapebook. That is not private lending, actually. That is, what is it? Another term. But it's more investing with a builder, right? So you're helping to raise funds for that purpose. So there are different ways of looking at it, but for a private lending, I don't like it to be more than 1 year. But if I am investing, maybe my RSP or RESP, those ones I do it for a longer time because I don't have access to that money anyways, right? And I always tell people, real estate is not only about making money, it's about keeping the money as well. So you then have to be strategic on employing all these other strategies to help you to be more tax efficient, right? In dealing with your wealth and your portfolio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And to your point, like it's a great like passive investment strategy, but like there is that due diligence required in terms of keeping your money, right?
Yeah.
And you touched on a little bit on it. I was hoping to go a bit deeper from a collateral perspective. Like what are some of the common forms of collateral, whether it's like promissory note versus like a second position mortgage? Can you talk a little bit about that?
For me, I go on promissory notes with people that have done deals before. So I have to have at least done one deal with you before I go on a promissory note. And of course, I am still vetting, I am still doing my due diligence on the project itself that you're doing. But for me personally, I want to have done, I would rather go as a second position, depending on how much you're borrowing. And also depending on the length of the property, right? There's also limited partnership right now, GE, that is going on, that people are doing. I think that's the trend that is going on right now. But depending on how much I am lending, I like to go as a second position and register on the property. Sometimes some people will give me their primary residence that has maybe 50% equity. So maybe I might go right now, I'm going only 70-30. Before we would do 80-20. Now we're only going up to 70%. And so that's how we kind of make sure that's my own risk tolerance, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how I call it now our business policies or business practices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And you touched on it, but like when thinking about collateral, like there are many considerations. And so like you have that promissory note option, which is essentially just like a promise to pay, right? Versus having like secured collateral, like whether it's a second mortgage as an example.
Definitely. A second mortgage it guarantees your money better than a promissory note. You want to be careful of promissory notes. I've done it in the past only for people that I've worked with before. And I know, but I still have personal guarantee on their other assets, right? So it's just not a promissory note. It's secured also against if something happens, right? So in that case, and then these are now like big names in the industry that their name is even worth more than what they are asking for. So again, you're just balancing that and just sometimes also it's good to just listen to your conscience, to what your inner voice is telling you. If you don't feel good about the deal, as you can always walk away, right? There are other ways of making money. You don't have to. For me, there's no emotions, right? If me and my husband sit down and if we can both agree on putting our money somewhere, then it's a no. If we can both say, this feels good, there's no, you just don't feel each or anything, then that's how we roll.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Yeah, you got to stick to your guns, right? Stick to your guns.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and so if we flip the script, actually, from an investor actually looking for private lending funds to complete a project, like what advice would you give an investor, like a first timer
that is looking for funds to complete a project? I would say your greatest investment is to try to involve in a lot of communities, right? So that you get your name out there. People just don't want to give you money just because, Mario, I'll pick on you. Mario showed up at my door And if they want to get, there's some things about you, put your name out there, whether you're doing a podcast, you're always in this meet of groups and people are saying different things. So you hear of these people. So people feel a little bit more comfortable. I feel like a lot of people want to be comfortable with you because a lot of private lending deals, a lot of private investors don't announce it, right? Even on the social group, you don't come out and say, hey, Deborah Ojo is giving money. No, we don't do that, right? I'm just looking at you. And then once I get comfortable, I may private message you or look for opportunity when you post something and say, hey, can you send me more details about the deals you're looking for? So the first thing is to put your name out there and also have a portfolio of things that you've done in the past or how you think you can add value. I also want to know your exit strategy. How are you going to recover my money, right? And I want to know just not plan A, I want plan B, I want plan C of how am I going to recover my money. So if you don't have all those things already figured out in your presentation, in your portfolio, then whatever there, then you're not, private lenders like me are not comfortable. So you yourself have to put yourself in a situation where if you are lending $200,000, you are lending $100,000, how would you want to secure your money? So once you think about that, and maybe possibly, again, you can leverage on now the other investors that you have and say, hey, can you look at this? If you were me, if I was borrowing money from you, is that something that, works for you? I think also working with mortgage brokers, right? Mortgage brokers have access to a lot of private lenders. So having relationship with a couple of them would also help you to present you with opportunities to lend money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I agree with you, the capital is out there and it's available, right? But it boils down to, as you mentioned, what is your brand? Are you putting yourself out there? Are you planning the contingencies around exit strategies and just your overall strategy for the project?
Yes.
And being able to clearly articulate that, I think is extremely important, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you shared a little bit about this earlier, but I want to talk about just your passion for giving back to the community. And so I do know that you've led and you deliver various educational seminars specifically for diverse communities. And so minority communities, actually. And so can you just talk about what kind of where that passion stems from and what you do in that space?
Okay. That's a great question. Thank you. So for me, when you look at yourself and you look at when you're passionate about something, so it's some people don't know this about me, but I am more towards an introvert than an extrovert. Okay. So people don't know that. But when you are passionate about something, your face just lights up when those kind of topics come around. So and for me, I wanted to give back for people to understand because when I came into Canada about 20 years ago, it was difficult for us to secure accommodation just because of, your minority, you don't have enough knowledge. It's different system over here than back home. So it was different. So it was difficult to secure the knowledge. And then when you have the knowledge, there was nobody like you in the room to represent or to advocate for you, right? So first of all, you don't know. Now you're there and you're odd. So I wanted to be able to educate people to understand, these are the things that you need when you're entering into a country. You need your credits, you need to get a job, all of those things that you need to be able to buy a house. And if you are presenting yourself to a landlord, present yourself, these are the things that they are expecting, to even consider you. These are the minimum criteria. So I combined my passion in real estate with my skills. And I thought, okay, these are things that I can bring together to be able to give back to people, right? I am also passionate about people just having enough. I started my family really, really fast. My kids are all back to back. And one thing about that is the challenge could be money, right? Because you're always on maternity leave 1 year, you're pregnant the next year and all of that. And just not having enough and just also feeling like you're spending a lot of time at work rather than at home with your kids also take a toll on you as a mom. So I was trying to educate people and say, hey, real estate is that tool that can give you that financial freedom and also help you to spend more time with your family, right? So It was financial security, giving them access to that, giving them access to, if you want to also pass the baton to somebody else. Because sometimes in our community, people just think we want to compete against each other, right? And it's not always the case, right? Sometimes somebody opened the door for me, somebody advocated for me. In my case, it wasn't really like that. But I would like to see more of us in the room. When I started a few years ago, there wasn't a lot of people like me in the room, to be honest. So when I am talking, people just don't even understand where I am coming from. Your voice is not heard. But now when there's 2, 3, 10, 20 Deborahs in the room, guess what? We are now a force for people to reckon with. Now you have to pay attention. Now you have to prepare to have me on the table. You have to provide a positive culture for me to try because, hey, I am bringing you a lot of dollars in here. So now you want more of me to help you make money. You gotta represent me well. Otherwise, I'm taking my money from one remarks and I'm leaving to the next. So that was my passion, and I still continue to do that. And it's my goal to do that. It's also, as we are creating a brand, also not just for us, for our businesses, also for our children. People know Deborah Ohms now. My parents will say, oh yeah, somebody say, oh yeah, are you Deborah's mom? Are you Deborah's dad? My children will be, oh yeah, my mom is a millionaire. I didn't know that, all of those things. But hopefully because of the good that you've done to the world, not just helping people to make money, but people just knowing who you are, they're going to pass that to the other family members, right? So nobody wants to say, hey, yeah, Deborah duped me. Deborah did something. Deborah didn't advise me right. Deborah shuts down the dream. People try to shut me down. And I just want to make sure that I open the door and cheer you on and tell you that you can do it, right? And together, the more the better. And together we are stronger.
That is wise words. I definitely love the passion. I can feel the energy as you're talking about it. And it sounds like you're making a great impact. So thank you.
Thank you.
So to round out our conversation, can you just share with our listeners what's next for Deborah from a real estate perspective? And what's the best way for our listeners to reach out to you?
What's next for Deborah? That's a good conversation. I am working on my business plan for next year, but I'll tell you, I want to continue to give back to the community. I want people to understand that even though we're thinking of maybe we're going to recession, Canada hasn't been to recession yet. But even if we went there are opportunities to make money. It starts with your mindset, right? Once you are able to conquer your mind, once you're able to conquer that battle, then you can do anything you put your mind to. And then you start by leveraging with other people, listening to podcasts, connecting with people, right? And when you are connecting, you are genuinely connecting, because sometimes when people reach out, they are just saying, hey, I want you to mentor me. Well, I don't know you from anywhere. Let's build relationship first, right? Let's connect to each other, human to human. So those are things. So I want to give back to community and also continue to inspire people that, you can do anything from one house to 10 houses to 100 homes, from having no dollar to having millions of dollars, if that is your goal. For me personally, I want to continue to lead my team. So Deborah Ohms right now, we're a team of about 5 people. We're hoping to grow more next year. So that's what we're going to do. We are also planning to do more multi-units next year. So we're going to be collaborating with a lot of people. People have money here and there, RSP, different things, right? To want to invest, they have maybe a little bit, they don't have as much, or they don't want to take more risk. Well, we're going to be coming together, joint venturing with them, partnering with them to be able to show them what their money can do for them. So those are some of the things that we have coming up. Next year also, I am going to be going to Dubai. So I'm in the spirit of connecting with people and just, bringing people closer. I am going to be bringing a few families, again, just to collaborate more, right? Just to open doors for people to get to know us better and to inspire people more. So those are some of the things that I have planned. But yeah, that's it.
Exciting stuff. Well, Deborah, thanks so much for taking the time to share your knowledge and experiences. It's exciting to hear all of the great work that you're doing in the community. It sounds like you're definitely making a huge impact.
Thank you so much, Mario.
To our listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Black Wealth Effect podcast. Please subscribe, leave a review, for the show on your favorite podcast platform so we keep bringing you this great content. We'll catch you later. What was the one thing you heard today that inspires you to take action? Now plan to take that action in the next 24 hours. If you're looking for more support, ideas, or just want to connect with others like you taking action, join us in the Black Wealth Effect Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Black Wealth Effect podcast.